All right, Melissa, it's great having the podcast there. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. And yeah, it's good to have you on the podcast. And I just kind of thought I'd introduce you and talk about how you kind of got into what you do because you do like tarot readings, guided meditations, and you're very into coaching people and helping them to tap into trauma and to achieve their goals. How do you kind of get into this?
Well, it's been a long journey, but I would have to say I got into it actually from my personal tarot reader. And I started seeing a tarot reader like, I don't know, a year before I started doing tarot myself. And it was just kind of like a birthday treat. And me and her grew a really good bond. And I was always like curious of like, what she does. And so I'd ask her more questions and she told me to follow the moon and start buying crystals. And then I'm like, well, is it okay if I buy my own tarot deck? Because I didn't want her to feel like, like I'm taking away business from her because if I get my own tarot deck, then maybe she wouldn't
Mm.
want to see me. And that was like a little bit of judgment on that part. But she was like, no, spirit of thing, get your own tarot deck. Like, and I just fell in love with it. I've always been interested in everything magic and witchy stuff. And that was back in 2018 when I first started around September. And from then on, it just kind of snowballed into this like thing of just like, this is like my passion. This is what I love to do. Like, I love helping people discover hidden messages that they may not be able to see, or communicating with their spirit guides and allowing them to like give them immediate messages that they need to hear. And I do crystals, oils, candles, all that jazz. And now I'm done a lot of meditation work, and I encourage everyone to meditate because it's just amazing. But I do guided meditations to heal past trauma, and also just all sorts of guided meditations to like, heal your solar plexus chakras or all your chakras. And yeah, so how I got into it was someone else just kind of not really influenced me, but inspired me to go down this path. And I haven't turned back since.
No, that's awesome, and I think it's really nice. You found something that you're passionate about and that you love and enjoy, and you're able to help other people, heal themselves and to you know go into traumas and to to shift probably through blockages in their life and their energy and
Mhm.
probably a lot of people don't probably understand it. Probably once they tap into these things, they then become more aware.
Awareness is the first step. Like, if you are aware of how you are reacting, like, oh, I'm angry right now, oh, I'm anxious, oh, I'm not doing my greatest, there's a place for healing. There's obviously, like, especially with grief, like there's a time period where you have to go through the grief, but there's a certain point where you have to look and say, am I doing this to myself, or am I still healing? Like, am I self-sabotaging, or is this just part of the process? And there is no time limit towards healing. It's only your way, and you have to discover what is best for you. And that is where I come in. Like, I just like, my program is more about guiding them and working along their timeline and what works best for them. There's no like set time limit for healing. It's very powerful, and I encourage everyone to um, work through their traumas and just realizing that these things come from probably somewhere you'd never even expected. And it's a process. It's like, okay, I'm judging myself today. Okay, but why are you judging it? And then what's underneath that? And then what's underneath that? And then you get to the core place in your body where you could be storing this trauma, and you don't even realize it because you've suppressed it for so many years. But it can come up in like back pain, it can come up in headaches, maybe even, or emotional, like depression, anxiety. It can come up in that ways too. And until you start doing the inner work, and that's what we like to call shadow work, it's going to be really difficult for you to get to where you want to go in life because you still haven't healed from your past. that you need to re-experience, and re-experiencing it puts yourself in the moment, and it helps you heal to your inner child, and say to your inner child, like, it's okay for you to feel like this. It's okay, because somewhere along the line someone told you it's not okay to feel that way, and we need to figure out where that happened.
Yeah, it's definitely powerful, isn't it, when you think about it and how certain experiences can happen in people's lives, and from that experience, they suppress that emotion, or even at the time they don't even realize kind of like what's going on. It just happens, and it just kind of gets brushed under the carpet, and then before you
Yeah.
know it, 10 or 15 years later, or however long, people have got you know physical, or physical conditions based on that one or multiple events that have just kind of submerged themselves into like people's belief systems, in their body, because I think your body represses, it's like repressed emotion, isn't it? And by doing this work that you do, you can tap into those areas and get the people to uncover those layers.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's really powerful, but there's a lot of angles towards healing. Like, when, like, I suffered from depression, like, all through 2020, and it wasn't just because of the pandemic. I was depressed, and I tried therapy. It didn't really work. I saw my psychiatrist. I don't like taking pills. And if you are on some sort of medication, I encourage you to never stop your whatever your doctor is trying to tell you. Pills just didn't work for me. And I wasn't getting what I wanted from someone else. I was always looking towards my environment, towards healing. I was always looking towards my therapist. I was always looking towards my psychiatrist. I was always looking towards, people or situations. And like, to get that gratification and that love, when I should be looking inwards. Should be looking inwards towards myself, towards healing, and finding that love within myself, and being able to do the self-healing that I need to do, because we all have the capability to heal ourselves. It's a very powerful thing, and the mind is very powerful. And when we are able to figure out what exactly is going on with us ourselves, that's a game changer. And I hope that I am able to inspire others to heal themselves, and guide others towards healing themselves, because it is possible. I am proof of it. And it's very enlightening and relieving.
Hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, as you mentioned, like, a lot of the time, people are on medication, and sometimes they're on like certain medication for probably something that might be a little bit, quite small, or they may have a bit of anxiety. Then they take one medication, and then it just kind of like dominoes onto all these different medications. And like you said, the mind is pretty, one of the most powerful things. And you tap into yourself, and you can heal yourself, as you said, through this work that you do, and by kind of having that other person guiding you, and kind of go, you have to kind of go inwardly, don't you, to move forward and heal yourself. And medication isn't really the answer. I mean, a lot of people have got lots of different beliefs on things and things like that, but medication, it kind of numbs it out, doesn't it? It's just like a temporary thing, which then can, if you're not careful, become addictive, and all of that. And that's a whole different, road you go down. But when you work with people, how would you start out, and is that different for each person, if that makes sense?
It's definitely going to be different for each person. Like, everyone, like I said, everyone's healing journey is not the same. But I try to map out the program to figure out what their intentions are. What are their goals? What are their inspirations? What is their dream life? And then we work backwards, you know? Why aren't you? Because whatever got you here is not going to get you there. Whatever you're doing now is not going to get you there. So there's obviously something going on, and I like to work backwards, but also there's a step-by-step process. So it's basically figuring out what your belief system is like, healing past trauma, through meditation, figuring out what your why is, embodying that why, that feeling of just happiness, even if you can't feel it. Like, I was depressed and I would try to like put my hand over my heart, and it's like, feel the energy of your heart. I'm like, I'm not freaking feeling anything. I'm freaking depressed. But I did it anyway. And then, because my intention was to not feel depressed. And once I became vegan, that was the missing link for me. I did the healing traumas. I did the affirmations. I did the good habits. I read. I did everything I was supposed to be doing. But I had no idea it wasn't because of my eating habits that was making me depressed, which is why that's why I want to try and help find the missing link for other people, because you could be manifesting. You could be, saying you're doing affirmations and you're like, I'm still not feeling better. I'm still not feeling full. It's like, well, maybe your why is the reason why. Maybe you don't have the right why. Maybe you don't have the right, motivation, because, in the beginning, I was, before all this, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't know how to be an entrepreneur. And I juggled around like 3 or 5 different ideas before I came across this one that I'm really, really passionate about, that gets me excited and gets me this energy going, gets me out of bed, and that's what I want to try and find for other people to, get them excited about life again, get them motivated and to feel connected to the world, because I was feeling so disconnected. Like, I just felt like I didn't belong. I was just like looking around. I'm like, I don't know what to feel right now. I just felt really disconnected from the world. And it wasn't until I became vegan and discovered my purpose that I was just like, that was what's missing. That was it.
Wow. It's fascinating, isn't it? Like, as you said, like people, like who may be depressed, there's like a whole underlying kind of thing there, isn't there? As you said, like especially with yourself, like you said, you kind of trying to look for that sense of purpose and something that you enjoy, and then you kind of like discovered through your eating habits, and it's like everything's kind of linked, isn't it? Like,
Mhm.
if you're not okay emotionally, you're not happy, then I mean, I was talking to someone earlier about this. Is like, we resort to probably eating certain foods or drinking, and these kind of things just kind of cover over whatever it is beneath that. And I think like by realizing, turning vegan, and then that's a moment of clarity kind of came, and then whole kind of window opens up. And I think like I think these are the main things, as you said. Like, if people feel like, because if they feel like they don't belong and they don't really know what it is they want to do, and all of these things, or they're not good enough, and this misdirection, then you're not going to be feeling all those other emotions, are you? Until you probably click into place and say, oh, this is what I want to do. Then you've got like all that energy, that energy to put you, to go forward into that.
Mhm. That energy is everything. It's a huge game changer. And I hope to ignite the energy in other people.
That's it. And I mean, like, I bet it's rewarding as well doing that work, and helping people, seeing the difference in their lives and them shifting, through the places that they're in. And do you have to reassure people? Like, have you seen people shift very quickly? Some people take time. I mean, because I suppose it does take time sometimes, depending probably on the trauma or where that person is, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. And I mean, healing, I'm sorry to say this, but healing is never over. You're
Yeah,
never done healing. Like, there's always something new. And it's like, oh yes, I accomplished that. And then you start to feel bad about something else, like, oh, something else, like, really? And you're just like, oh, but the goal is, for me, I want people to be able to do this, but on their own, because I did it on my own and it took way too long. I'm like going through my journals and I'm like, I saw the therapist and I saw my psychiatrist, and they were helping during that time. Like when I was younger, I wouldn't have been able to got through my bipolar episodes without medication
Mm.
during that time. And that is okay. I'm not
Yeah.
saying medication is the enemy, because sometimes we do need it. But
Mm.
there's more like, I feel like unless you get a brain scan and you really actually know that there's a chemical imbalance in your brain, it's something internal. It's
Mm.
something, it's some kind of trauma that you went through. Because more and more, like, why, like during the pandemic, I tried to book an appointment with my therapist and it took 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It took 2 weeks. That's way too long. It's like, I need healing now. Like, and I have to, and then I'm like putting myself in like their responsibility to, heal me, but I have to wait 2 weeks. I'm like, I need someone to talk to right now. My friends are tired of me. I, I'm just moping around all day. Like, I need healing now. And it's like, you can start now. You can do
Mm.
this. And
Mm.
and of course, like, I just feel like we all need to start working together. But the big game changer is, I'm not actually sure. I think I like went on a tangent. I'm not really sure where we're going with this.
No,
But
so it's fine. I'm
from your
open.
original question, okay. But yeah, my goal is, I don't want people to get addicted to me. I don't want them to be like, oh, you're my source of happiness because you encourage me and you motivate me. I don't want to be that person forever. Like, I'm happy to guide you on, because if I had someone guiding me and telling me like, hey, your belief system's all wrong. Hey, you need to heal your trauma. Hey, you need to eat better. Like, if somebody was telling me like all those things that I was supposed to be doing, I would have healed way faster. It took way
Mm.
too long for me. And my goal is for people to be able to heal themselves and be able to take
Yeah.
the tools that I teach them and be able to apply them to all areas of their life and be able to move forward and know that they have personal power and they have
Mm.
the power within themselves to change their life.
That's it. It's really powerful, isn't it, when you think about it? And for your experience as well of where you were, and things that I think when you're in that place, especially, I mean, it's different in other country, but like in the UK, I think it's similar. If you're going through something like depression and you seeing a therapist through, we have the NHS over here, the National Health Service, and
Mhm.
you get put onto like a waiting list. If you're an adult, you get put onto a waiting list, and it's the same even if you're a kid. But it's like, unless something drastic happens, then you get seen to straight away. It shouldn't get
Yeah.
to that point.
No,
It
it
shouldn't
should
get to
never
that
have
point.
to get to that point.
Um,
That's like, ugh, that's awful.
yeah,
Oh,
and
God.
yeah, and I think like it's good that you was able to figure it out and to focus on something that you're passionate about, and it's like your focus. And you said it's that chemical imbalance that is internal. There's something going on inside where you can shift it. And I think there's a lot of people, you've probably seen it, especially with COVID, a lot of people are experiencing mental health um issues with anxiety and depression. It's because a lot of uncertainty out there, so people are like worried. um so I think right now it's definitely vital and key, isn't it? People look at their well-being, their mental well-being, um and it links into so many areas of your life, doesn't it? Your relationships, work, all of these things.
Mhm.
um and like with your like tarot work, like, so if people come to you and they've never had kind of tarot, how do you kind of break that down, if that makes sense? And have you seen it work pretty effectively with people?
With using tarot.
Yeah, tarot and like guided meditation, and like, has does the
Oh,
the
yeah.
tarot gives people clarity? Because I mean, I've had people do it with me sometimes, and it's quite I don't know, it can be quite overwhelming because it's some of the cards are like it's it's like the current situation sometimes of your life, and you're like, how the hell? I'm like, yeah, but how's this working? It's you know, it's been I believe in it, but
Mhm.
at first I was a bit like, oh, okay, this is strange. I need to go and have a walk for 10 minutes and have a think about what just happened.
Yeah. We have a saying. I it's not coming right to my head right now, but oh, if you want something nice, if you want like inspiration, like get an oracle deck, because they'll always inspire you and tell you everything's like, gonna be okay. But if you want the real hard truth, you get a tarot reading.
Yeah.
Tarot reading is not going to tell you what you want to hear. It's going to tell you what you need to hear. It's just like, well, this is it. And that's why I love tarot, because it cuts around all the BS.
Mm.
It doesn't go beat around the bush, and be like, oh, like, say this affirmation for 21 days and you'll feel better. And like, no, just do this. But it's just like, sometimes it could be a lot. I'd be like, whoa, I was not ready for all of that. Like,
Yeah.
I should take a step back here. Like, I'm not ready to change. I'm not ready to face that. Like, oh, I don't want to deal with that, like, but okay, thanks for the tarot reading. It's like, well, you asked, so.
Yeah. It's a bit like the universe working through the cards, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a direct message. The universe, source, spirit, your ancestors, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. Like, sometimes I tap into my higher self, sometimes I tap into spirit, sometimes I
Mm.
tap into my ancestors, just for the certain guidance. And that's why I love tarot, because it's very flexible in that area. And they're going to
Mm.
give you direct messages of what you need to hear right now, what to connect with. Because when I'm looking at, because sometimes you could be wanting a new partner, and you cannot get a boyfriend, or you can't get a girlfriend, or whatever. And I do a tarot reading. I'm like, okay, let's see what's coming. I'm like, oh, well, you need to do some inner healing. Oh, like, you need to get more grounded in your financial, like, uh your financial situation, or
Mm.
something along like that, before you get into a relationship. And that's why I
Mm.
like tarot, because it sometimes it gives you answers, not what you want, like what you were expecting, but it does tell you exactly what you need to hear in this present moment. And it's
Mm.
just like super quick and easy. um I incorporate tarot now into my business, into my program. But most of what I do now is getting others to trust their own intuition, and allowing them to use meditation and breath work to find the answers with themselves, because not everybody knows how to do a tarot reading. Not everybody
Mm.
knows how to get those direct messages. And sometimes, even when you're personally doing a tarot reading, like me, I'm like, sometimes my ego gets in the way and I can't do a tarot reading. It's a lot easier for someone to do a tarot reading for someone else, because
Yeah.
you're just directly connected. But if, like, sometimes if it's yourself, your ego gets in the way and you're just like, I'm confused, and I don't know.
Mm. Yeah. No, it's interesting, isn't it? And I think it's very I think like I said, tarot is pretty accurate, because it's like, it might present things to people that they should be looking at, but they aren't in their life, and it's like saying, look at this. So it's quite direct and very straightforward, and gives people clarity. And I think like breath work and coaching and all of this, like a lot of people you know aren't breathing properly, if that makes sense. And even if I go running, it's like I'm learning how to breathe properly, because like, because your body, mind, when you exercise, your breathing is a bit all over the place. And it's like, but even
Mhm.
like if people are stressed, for example, your breathing changes. You're not breathing from the right place in your body. So how do you kind of like do the breath work? Like, how does that kind of like work, if that makes sense? Do you work like would you work with people who experience anxiety? Would you say like breath work can work with anybody, if that makes sense?
Oh yeah,
'Cause
breath work
it's
can work
quite
for
it's quite new
anybody.
to me.
Really? I
Yeah,
mean,
I've
you want to do
never
something
looked.
right now? I can show you something right
Can,
now.
can do. I don't mind. I'm open.
All right. So the one breath work that I recommend, when you're in a stressful situation, or when you like, how we were talking about earlier, like, I'm aware that I'm feeling judgment right now. I am aware that I'm anxious. I'm aware that I am not feeling my greatest. And when you get to that, if you can get to that moment before you react, you are winning at life right now. You are winning, because most people, like, they react and they just like project, or they get defensive, or they get angry, or they take things personally. And if you can get into that moment of just being aware of just like, okay, this is happening right now. I feel my heart. I feel my heart. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a 4-4-4 breath. Okay.
Okay.
And so you inhale for 4 seconds, and then extend your belly, and then you hold that for 4 seconds.
So inhale.
Yeah. Inhale, holds, exhale, holds, inhale, holds, exhale, hold on a count to 4.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'll give it a try.
Yeah. So anytime, like, it really does help, and just do it 3 times, 3 or 4 times. And it can really just bring you back to center, and it can bring you back to yourself. And then if you need a moment and you are not in a comfortable place to respond, be like, okay, I hear you. I understand. I need a moment. And then you go process it. Or you can try and, continue on with whatever you're doing.
So you do that 3 times, as you said?
At least 3 times, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do you close your eyes? Do you have to close your eyes, or do you just do whatever you feels right? Okay.
You can just do it whenever it feels right.
Okay.
That's just a quick and easy thing. Yeah, but
just like ground yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
It helps ground yourself for sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll try now.
I could do a whole episode on how to ground yourself.
Yeah, we could do another one.
Yeah, sure.
All right, I'll try now.
You want to make sure that breath is nice and slow coming out, though. On a count of 4. There you go.
Yeah, it really does kind of ground you, doesn't it? It kind of brings you back into the moment.
Yeah. And if anyone listening, or you are interested, if you want to learn more about meditation, just to do on your own, I highly recommend Insight Timer. Insight Timer is the app that I use for my meditation. There's tons of guided meditations for beginners, for sleep, for morning routines. Like, they got everything. They obviously have paid stuff, where you go on like a meditation challenge, but there's tons of free stuff on there. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely important, isn't it, to meditate, or to do some kind of like, something that's going to benefit your mental and emotional health, isn't it? And just to tap into it. And I think, like, I haven't really meditated like we sit down consciously and do it for a while, but I tend to like the ones where you listen to when you go to sleep, those kind of ones. But I think there's definitely, you got to just kind of find the thing that works for you, haven't you? You probably find that with clients and people,
Totally.
one thing might not work for somebody, but then you just try different things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you have any like favorite books or anything like that at all, or you like to read at all?
Yes, I love to read. And my favorite, so there's one book that I'm reading right now that is a huge game changer for me because it's on my path. I also have recommendations for healing trauma too, but the one book that I highly recommend if you are at all in a place where you're just trying to up-level your career, trying to up-level your personal life, and this book can really be applied to any area of your life. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And it really helps you get into the mindset of just like, where do I want to be? Like, how do I get there? And it really inspires you to dream. And it really inspires you to find that desire inside of you. And what other books? And another book that I highly recommend if you're interested in tarot
Hmm.
is 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack. Amazing. If you are at all interested in learning tarot, anything, this is a must-have book. You have to read it. It's like, it's so in-depth, and it's a oldie but a goodie, and tarot readers still to this day recommend this book. And if you are at all interested in magic or learning about what magic is, I highly recommend Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner by Scott Cunningham. He is great. He's still like, unfortunately, he passed away, I think in 2000, I forget what year, but he
Yeah.
passed away, and he passed away like around when he's 30, I think. But he
Hmm.
like, it's still to this day like a huge part of the witchy community. And
Hmm.
if you're at all interested in visualization or learning how to tap into your personal power, and you
Hmm.
just need an instruction guide, like that is, I highly recommend everybody read that book, because I have a theory that that is exactly where law of attraction actually stemmed from. So
Hmm.
if you believe in law of attraction, I feel like you can get so much more out of this book too, because it really goes to the core of like where visualization and manifesting actually came from.
Hmm. Yeah, no, sounds interesting, and they're really good books. Like I really think and Go Rich is a good book, and I have to check out the other ones. And I definitely seen Wicca,
Wicca.
Wicca. Yeah, I've seen it in bookshops, and I've always like been kind of drawn to it. It looks quite interesting. I've known some people to read it, but like it's definitely more out there than what we kind of can understand or comprehend, isn't it? There's definitely,
Really.
energy and spirituality and manifesting. There's so much more out there, and I think we should kind of be given these in like college or school to read. It should be like like manuals for like life.
Mhm. Yes. But the one book I will recommend that has been a huge game changer for me, and I'm still reading it and it's still helping me. I was able to discover like how I was able to like heal myself from my depression on my own. But this book, I feel like if you're ready to make changes, if you're ready to do the work, if you're ready for that, like right now, I highly recommend Claim Your Power by
Mm,
Mastin Kipp. It's a huge game changer. It's amazing. Um, but if you're someone that needs more motivation and you need someone encouraging you, and you have no place and you don't know where to start, that's why, coaches and coaches like you and me are really important to have. But if you're like ready to do this, I highly recommend Claim Your Power by Mastin Kipp.
yeah,
It's a game changer.
no, that's awesome. And yeah, I think there's some really great books. And I mean, I think like reading's really important, isn't it? And you can kind of take a lot from books and apply it to your life, and there's always something that you can draw from, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Even if it's like someone's biography. I'm reading Matthew McConaughey's new book, and there's little gems in his book, from his life, and everyone's kind of got their own story or something to kind of give, haven't they? I think there's always something we can kind of connect with. And I was thinking as well, do you have any like role models or mentors that you like look up to, like now or growing up?
That's actually funny that you mentioned that. The mentors I see now are a little bit different than the mentors that I saw growing up. Um, but ones that I like, ones that I see or look up to now are role models like Jay Shetty, Prince EA. And then there's also people who like just kind of random people, like probably people that nobody's ever heard of, like because it's a process. Like my role models have changed over the years, but there's a really amazing person. Her name is Jessica Zimmerman. She's a business coach, a business owner, and she inspires people to like ditch the 9 to 5. Jay Shetty is just like, all about Jay Shetty and Prince A are like helps you find the love within yourself. But growing up, I will say I am still look up to Britney Spears. I love Britney Spears so much. And she's just, I feel like just I grew up with her, like her songs used to speak to me when I was younger. And I fully support her. And I hope that, I know everybody's been a little bit worried about her. So I just hope that she's doing okay.
Yeah, I think it is important, isn't it, to have role models and mentors and people that you can kind of draw, positivity from and learn from. And Jay said seeing Prince EA really good, and I quite like Prince EA's videos. They're pretty mind blowing how he puts them together and the messages behind
Mhm.
what it does. And yeah, Britney Spears, I mean, she's been through a rough patch, hasn't she? But you think about the level of fame she's had, and yeah, I think that's why a lot of rock stars and people in the limelight need to be careful, because it's you can be up there 1 minute and the next minute like, and for your reality, I mean,
Mhm.
you have to
You can,
just
yeah, you can have everything and still be unhappy,
mm,
you can have like, and that's another thing, like you can't have the amazing job, you can't be doing, everything, the good habits in the morning, your morning routine, your nightly routine, but there's still something missing maybe, and it's your why, it's your purpose.
yeah, this is it, and this is something I speak to people a lot about. Is I mean, I remember when I worked in jobs in places that I hated, and I was just thinking about the money, but I wasn't happy or fulfilled, and I think there's a deeper lining to it, isn't there? Like, I think it's okay if you're doing something for the money for the time being, and then you're working towards something else. I think that's that kind of gap, isn't it? People need a sideline, another direction, as you mentioned, where there's something that they're actually happy doing, or there's a that why, isn't it? Why is it?
Mhm.
And just trying to figure that out. And we're all kind of on our own paths, aren't we? I think I think I agree with what you're saying, and I think things happen for a reason, don't they? And I think you're gaining all this experience from all these different situations, and you have to sometimes just try different things out to realize what it is. I mean, I think we can sometimes overcomplicate things and not do things because we're scared, but then you may learn something from that experience. It might not be
Mhm.
what you want to do, but there's going to be something that you might take away from, or someone you might learn meet. um so it's pretty interesting, isn't it, to think about, and to as you said, to really think about, because a lot of people, there's more to just spinning your wheels through life, isn't there? To actually try and find something that you enjoy,
Yeah. Hmm.
and you meet awesome people. Like I think of the podcast.
Exactly.
I probably wouldn't have met you through social media if I wouldn't have been doing this, and you just don't know what's going, to connect from it.
Yeah. You don't know like how it's going to happen, the how doesn't matter, it's the why that matters.
Mm,
I feel like
yeah.
the what and the why is the most important. Like, what are you doing? How are you doing it? And why you're doing it? The why is the
Mm,
most important, but
mm,
it's the how that, like, sometimes we just need to let go. Like, I
mm,
want to buy a house. And we just put so much control in, like, okay, it's going to happen this way. It's going to happen in 5 years. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to save this amount of money. Sometimes just let go of the how. Okay.
mm.
And let it go and just let source, spirit, universe provide for you.
Yeah. No, I love that, and I think that's like a really good way of living and looking at it, and having that flow to it, isn't it? Being open. You're moving towards somewhere. You kind of open to how it's going to happen and pan out, as long as you're kind of pushing in that direction, isn't it?
Hmm.
Um, I was just thinking as well, like, I'm trying to think if I asked you this question previously. Um, if you could, like, say, sit around a table with a few people who are alive for a
Okay.
conversation, who would they be? If you can think of any people, if you could sit
Oh.
around, say, it could be anyone who's alive.
Just anyone?
Yeah,
Like,
anyone who you'd like to have an interesting conversation with, like if you could pick anyone,
oh gosh. I
even
mean,
if it's one person.
I've always like thought of like, what would somebody do if they asked me this question? And now you're asking me, and now I'm like, that's actually really funny. To be honest, I'm gonna have to say Britney Spears because I want to
Yeah,
know her story.
yeah,
I love knowing how people tick. I love
yeah,
understanding their story. I love hearing about it. I love like, oh, you're like, oh, you feel grateful? That means you've been through something. I want to know what you've been through. Like, oh,
yeah,
I'm so grateful that I'm not depressed anymore. Like
yeah,
that, my story from that is a long
yeah,
one. I
yeah,
want to know what really, I would love to just hear what really happened,
mm,
um, from her own point of view, from her own words, her own choice of words of just like what exactly happened. Like, I would just
yeah,
love to know her story.
and not kind of like twisted by the media or the press or anything like that.
Exactly.
Like literally
Even
one to
like,
one.
I haven't even seen the documentary on Hulu because I don't have Hulu, but I'm going to soon. I need to do the free trial and then I'm just going to watch the movie. But still, like, that's not from her. And even her Instagram, that's not her. That's
Yeah,
just, it's it's not
PR.
her. It's just, it's what she's forced to say, it's what she's forced to do. Or maybe it is her and I don't even know, and we just think that way. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
there's definitely a blurred line, isn't there, with some famous people and their social media and how and what is it? Is it them putting the content that they've been told to put out? There's like a blurred line between it. Because some of them might not even have the time to be doing that. So it's very interesting. But like, it's a random place to put a documentary on Hulu, isn't it? I mean, I completely forgot about what Hulu was until you just
Yeah,
brought it back.
I know.
It's like putting a documentary on MySpace, something like that. um,
Oh my
yeah, but
gosh,
no, it's
MySpace.
yeah, I know, good times.
Good times.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I think like you say, Britney Spears, and everyone has like different people they would choose, but there's a lot, like she's going to have her own story and their own lessons and her own, advice to give. Surely, how old is she? I don't even know how old she is now. She must be
36, I think.
36 or something. Yeah, because
I think 36 or 37. I was, yeah, something like that.
yeah, because I remember watching her like songs on the TV where like Kiss Music or something like that in the UK, like
Uh-huh.
the music. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting to see, like that level of work ethic as well, and that discipline, those standards, that because I've got friends in that industry and it's very competitive. To deal with all that
Yeah.
stress as well.
Hmm.
There's so many things you could talk about. Um, but yeah, no, it's. I was just thinking as well, like where can people find you on, like, say, social media and like that kind of side?
So you can find me on Instagram. That's where most of my action happens from. I did just get on TikTok, but that is like brand new. But my Instagram handle is at 5_expressions. And that is where you can find me and all my, I gonna start, I share my trauma experiences on there. I give you tips on how to heal, what I went through, my story. And I'm going to start probably figure out how to do some like maybe free guided meditations for like chakras and, healing in
Yeah,
that way, but I haven't gotten to it yet. But
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
definitely on the lookout. But if you want to find me, that is the best way to find me.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I really like your content and what you're about and what you're doing and who you
Thank
are. I
you.
think you're welcome and it's really positive and there's so much to be taken from, what you're doing and just wanting to help other people. It's definitely, I think, key, right now with how the world has been and earth. But yeah, I wish you continued success in what you're doing and yeah, keep up the great work.
Yeah, you too. keep doing what you're doing, because this is amazing of just sharing other people's stories and what they learned. And your podcast is a very informative place. So keep up,
Oh,
you keep doing what you're doing.
yeah. No, thank you. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot. And, I'm grateful to have you on. And yeah, we'll definitely do this again sometime.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, same here. But have a great day and wish you all the
All
best.
right. You too. All right. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.